was we were unplugging electric gym carts around campus because they were drawing power out of the parking structures, and everybody was gone. We shut almost everything down in the office unless we knew somebody specifically was going to be in over that time. So when you start looking at just some of the small things that you can do, it can really add up quickly. So our goal was to maintain service and be as efficient as possible.
We're also looking at maybe cutting a couple of parking control officer jobs so there'll be less people to write tickets. How's that?
Get rid of those tickets.
So speaking of those pesky tickets, actually, Lance, what do all this money go to fund?
Don't we get to start down that way? No. The money that's generated off of parking citations are put back into the parking system. It's help pay the bond debt on the structures and the parking lots. It helps pay for managing the systems. So any of the dollars that are spent with parking transportation, they're reinvested back into the programs.
I'd like to also add that it costs a lot of money to have the parking control fleet out there writing those tickets. In some ways, it costs almost as much to have them writing the tickets as we collect from the system. Because in addition to the people and the vehicles that they use, there's also the cost of the equipment, which is all electronic and handheld and brings up your record of your license number. And the whole parking control system that we have that is web-based. However, that doesn't mean that it's wasted money. As I said, I've been here for 13 years. When I came here to work, the student population was about 13,000, which is, what, 2/3 of what it is now. And the faculty staff population was probably proportional, about 2/3 of what it is now. And you could not find a place to park in the student center deck. You would ride around, and the students would all say, well, it's because you oversell the permits. And I said, no, it's not. It's because there are that many people parking illegally. Probably about 40% of the people who parked on campus parked illegally. The whole parking control system is designed to protect the spaces for the people who have bought a permit and want to be able to find a space when they get to the lot that they bought the permit for. At that time, almost none of our lots were gated, and we ticketed like crazy, but we never collected because we didn't have the right systems in place to track those tickets. So really, parking control is a preventive thing which keeps people from parking where they should not park. Every year for the past 5 years or so, we have seen our parking citation revenue decrease, and we consider that a good thing. It means that people understand that if they park illegally, they'll be penalized, and so they're less willing to do it. And that's why when you go into whatever lot you park in, or wherever your permit is for, you are able to find a space. Because without our parking control officers, you wouldn't be able to find a space. People would break gates, they would tailgate, they would lend their cards, they would get in, and you would not find a space.
Thank you. If there are questions from the floor, we ask again that you write them down, and this time I'm going to ask our board members to walk up and down the aisles and collect any written down pieces of paper. So I have a question from an online student for Todd. There seems to be a lot of unhealthy food available in the dining halls. What is the criteria for selecting the food choices available at Britton and Woodruff, and do you have a policy about providing certain standards of healthy food?
Well, first of all, I would disagree that there's a lot of unhealthy food. I would like to say that there's really a lot of healthy options. We have really taken this seriously over the years and continue to expand. In fact, we just looked at meals served out of Britton and Woodruff, and over 40% of our meals are vegetarian in one fashion or another. So we provide what we feel is a number of healthy options. Now, with all that being said, can we do better? Absolutely. One of the things you have to understand is that although we can have a number of healthy options provided, if we have fried chicken or chicken nuggets out there, they are still popular. So we have to offer a balance to our students, that although they may have a vegan or vegetarian option, we can't really necessarily control or dictate or mandate to that student, well, you're going to have the Mongolian stew today. So we really have to balance what we offer, and the facts are that a number of our students are still meat eaters. A number of our students still enjoy fried foods. Now, I'm not saying that's right or wrong. It's just we have to balance. Is the market moving? Absolutely. Is the trend moving? Yes, it is, and we'll move with it.
This person writes that it's difficult to recognize or identify the blue stingers or the red stingers from afar. Is there any intentions to put some signs, color signs or letters or something, so that it's easier to identify them from afar?
I think that's a great question. It's something that we were just talking about as we're going through this RFP of you can really tell the trolleys versus the stingers, but the only way you can really tell the different stinger routes is by the display on the front. So we've bounced around, is there a way to identify easier? I don't think we have a clear-cut answer, but it's definitely a question that we need to take a look at and find an easy solution. That way, as you're walking onto the bus, you know that you're on the right route, because nothing's more frustrating than ending up somewhere different than where your class is or your residence hall. So is it a subtle way of using some type of an icon? Is it a way of changing colors a little bit? As we've talked through our master plan, we've talked about a potential additional trolley route that's a little bit different. We talked about the white, and I came from red and white, sorry.
Right.
White and gold routes to where we use the actual painting on the trolleys, maybe in opposite colors to identify them. But I think that's definitely something we got to keep on the table.
Another question about the trolleys and the stingers. What measures are currently in place to ensure that there's proper headway between stingers and don't pile up, or at least that there's a low variability in the frequency of the stingers passing? And maybe a suggestion we got was to have electronic boards on the stops that would tell students when the next bus is coming and what the schedule would be.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, since the students, the Mandatory Student Advisory Committee did give $2 this year to go to additional LED signs in each of the bus stops. The $2 will pay for about 10 to 15 of these, and this is something that we're going to be working with student leaders on, is identifying where the high priority areas are to put those first 10 to 15 in at. The other question was, the headways. If we could get all the traffic off of the roadways and in between classes, none of the pedestrians would walk out in front. No, I'm kidding. It is. If you look at it, 80 to 90% of the time, the buses and trolleys are making their headways. When it's really the critical time is when class change happens and the boardings take longer. There's more pedestrians that slows down the buses or the stingers and the trolleys. So it's really just continually working with the contractor on recognizing that the headways are very important. We have about a 6-minute headway here, which if you look nationally, is an incredible headway. Our consultants and a number of my peers that have looked at our system are really amazed at how efficient we are. Do we have room to improve? Absolutely. We're trying to protect some of those transportation corridors to make sure that we can get around campus efficiently. We're looking at maybe a little different area to do a trolley turnaround area that brings a little bit further down, maybe on the other side of Student Commons. So we're looking at how can we get a little bit more efficient.
Great. This is a question for Dan now. Given the disruptive construction that's taken place on the North Avenue apartments, have you seen a drop-off in the number of applications to live there next year? And then could you please spell out the intentions, problems, and outcomes of this project and what you've learned from the difficulties you faced for the future?
I would be glad to. the North Avenue construction project, for those